Well, I have to. With due respect, sir. I mean, I think that this accent on money and profiteering is frankly rubbish. It takes money to set up infrastructure. It takes money to get the best teachers in. It takes money to give the best education, to develop the best curriculums. It develops it takes money to fertilize the minds that you need to fertilize. The only business that governments should have, in terms of education, is to set up the framework, set up the rules and regulations, so that the field is a level playing field and there is no exploitation. Now, you talk of money in Delhi University, across the globe, in India, the Indian globe, in all government institutions, you have kids from very rich families. In this audience, there are bound to be kids from very rich families who are studying in government schools or in government colleges, who are paying, 300, 400, 500 rupees a month for fees, when their parents can afford to pay 5 lakhs or 2 lakhs. Why is it not means tested? Why is education not means tested, to the sense that those who are able to afford to pay higher fees pay the higher fees, and those who are able to afford, who are not able to afford the higher fees but are bright kids, pay the lower fees? Why is it that the disadvantaged, the scheduled castes and the Muslims are doing reservations without there being a pathway? Because these people coming from disadvantaged families already, they do not have the baseline skills. They are being pushed into reserved seats for which they are not prepared. Why is the government not talking in terms of preparing these people by investing in them in an extra 6 months, in some extra classes, in some extra developmental work? Why? Why are we talking in terms of such rubbish of, and downplaying money? Money is the lubricant that makes life happen. Money is the lubricant that makes society happen. I mean, so how can you turn around and say that...
What about those who don't have the money?
Well, means tested. I mean, in every sensible private institution...
How many private institutes? How many... I don't want to actually get into the debate right now. Buzzer's time, your time therefore is up. How many private institutes? Why don't private institutes therefore then reserve 50% of their seats for people from economically disadvantaged sections and give them 75% scholarships? They don't do that.
It's coming.
They don't do that. Okay, we're going to get an answer from that. I'm very happy the debate is warming up. Speaking for the motion and therefore against the privatization of education, Uday Singh Rana from Hindu College. Go ahead, Uday.
Before I go into semantics, let me just talk on general principle. And first, let me analyze the nature of our government, because it's not really a government that works in cahoots with private, etc., etc. What we're looking at here is a government which is a welfarist in nature, a country which is a welfare state. Now, what is privatization? Privatization, very simply, in its essence, means that the government has no business being in business. And now when government pulls out of certain sectors, it still stays back in certain essential sectors. Sectors such as healthcare, sectors such as railways, and sectors such as education. Because the people feels that, the government feels that these are very, very essential sectors, which everyone, these are services that everyone has the right to. Because education is not like a Lexus, which you deserve only if you have money. Education is something that you have a right to by birth. And this is why the government feels that you cannot leave something as essential as education, the fate of something as essential as education, in the hands of private players who may have no incentive to enter in the first place. What is the incentive behind a private body to open up a school in a rural area? Because the investment is too high and these people have no assurance of return. So there is absolutely no intention or no incentive for these people to go into a rural area. And also I feel that privatizing education, particularly in terms of school education, which I felt previous speakers have sort of missed out on, because privatization of education is not just higher institutes, we're also talking about schools here. That I feel is a problem-solution mismatch of sorts, because the problem is that people aren't sending their kids to schools because of other reasons, because they're looking for immediate goals, they want their child to work on farm or they want their child to work. And thus demanding a higher fees of them is not really going to help the cause here.
Okay, your 90 seconds is up. Assumption is being made here by some of our speakers today, and I want maybe this other side to address that if you have a profit motive, then you are not interested in high quality education. Should you link the two is a question I'm leaving for this audience and all of you also to address. Our next speaker today, speaking for the privatization of education and hence against the motion, is Abir Sharma of Hansraj College, Delhi University. Abir, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll try not to sound redundant, as I agree with much of what has been said by Mr. Naveen and by Dhruv already. But if we look at economic patterns and phenomena over the centuries post the Industrial Revolution, we'll notice a very strong and pertinent correlation. This correlation, it's a direct correlation between liberalization and innovation in sectors which are allowed to freely flourish with as little intervention as possible. This can be witnessed in many sectors, not just heavy machinery or automobiles, but also in pertinent areas such as healthcare, medicine, and more recently in sectors such as telecommunications, also increasing general welfare and availability of these things. The reason is that entrepreneurship fosters the human desire for excellence. As a policy, we must know that the greater good in the long run must be prioritized over practical concerns and sentimentality, and that one of the most powerful factors of human progress have been the factors of market and the freedom of exchanges. Hence, it is logically invalid to make that presumption that a profit motive or privatization in any way reduces the quality. In fact, if we look at this in a more rational perspective, the profit motive actually guarantees quality, as that's what the demand of people is, better quality. Hence, the forces of market will guarantee better quality rather than the status quo, which is heavily government mandated and directed.
Is that so?
I believe it is.
You believe so? Thank you very much. Abhi Sharma, thank you very much for opening up the debate as well. Now, our second last speaker, as we are getting into these introductory comments, and the debate will actually start once these introductory comments are over. I assure you, please keep your questions directed towards our other side, because we're going to open up to interjections once this round is over. So our next speaker is Madhu Prasad, speaking anti-privatization of education and therefore for the motion. Please, the floor is yours.
I'd like you first and foremost to look at one thing. This country has been sort of famous for the kind of scientific potential and manpower that it has developed. Where was that developed? In public institutions. Where was this famous education? I'm not saying there weren't any problems, but the reputation that Indians have and India have got for education has come from public institutions, from public schooling, from public science institutes, from public colleges. We have seen foreign secretaries who have been educated in Sarkari schools. This is something that we look down upon today. But this was not the case a few years ago. I'd like to talk about the fact, in fact later I hope it comes up in the discussion, that this system which was providing what we wanted from it and which needed to be extended, because in a modern democracy, in an independent country, you cannot have only 10% of your population educated. What about the others? This is something that is necessary. And this is something that will also affect your quality. Because it's all very well to reward privilege and mistake it for merit. Privilege is not merit. The market that was talked about a moment ago by Abir, that market was a market for everybody. That was Europe's period of growth and development.
Arindam Chaudhary, you have a lot to answer for. The charge clearly is that private education trusts like yours are basically profit-making businesses. You have no social ideals. You have no social objectives. You give no guarantee of a good career at the end of... You only look at people in terms of their economic status, and you're unfair to a lot of people. Sorry, it's a long string of charges, Arindam. Your 90 seconds, actually you should get more than 90 seconds. I'll give you 90 seconds, your 90 seconds starts now. Arindam Chaudhary, go ahead.
This is not fair, because it's not addressed to IIPM and Arindam. We are addressing the entire...
Issue at large. Point is taken. Point is taken. Arindam Chaudhary, go on.
Yeah. You're on our side.
Thank you, sir. But I'm going to destroy all those charges very systematically very soon. That's absolutely not an issue. But I'm going to start by telling which quality of education are we really talking about. You know, which quality of education did the government provide? We are talking about a class 5 student who doesn't know how to... 50% of class 5 students do not know to recognize numbers between 11 to 99. 50% of class 5 students do not know what basic class 2 students should know. Which quality of education are we talking about in schools where 19% of the teachers are always absent? They're never present. Which quality of education are we talking about where in a country we have got about 2.4 million temples against just 1.5 million schools, and schools which are dilapidating, schools which do not have basic infrastructure, schools which do not have teachers. There are schools which run on one teacher. I mean, there are thousands of schools in Uttar Pradesh which run on the basis of just one teacher, one classroom. Schools which do not have basic toilets, because of which girl students are facing sexual harassment because of the kind of lack of infrastructure. Which quality of education are we talking about? And which quality of education has the private sector destroyed? I really want to ask. Worldwide private education has only increased quality. And what's this question about access and all that crap? It's all utter garbage. I'm going to talk about this access to education in a while as the debate
90
opens.
seconds are up.
I thought he was censoring.
Professor Sadgopal, are you giving 30 more seconds? Because you were very sympathetic to him at the beginning. You're not giving me 30 more seconds. Okay, we are opening up to the debate right now, and we have brought to the fore a number of interesting subjects. Is the better education a privilege of the rich? What about the fee structure? Ask questions on the fee structure. The education that Arindam Chaudhary promises does not come free. What about every Indian citizen? Can they get into these institutes? What are the guarantees given up to these institutes? If government colleges were so bad, then as Professor Madhu Prasad very rightly put out, how come generations of achievers in India have come out of government colleges and government schools? Are we to underwrite them all over? Is there a business and an industry? Foreign universities come and take over our educational system in India, then will we be guaranteed a better system? We are going to get into all these questions. I'm taking a very short break.